I understand why no fighter who's spent his entire life, his entire childhood, his entire adult life going to the boxing gym, training to live out a dream, training to realise his lifelong ambition to become a world champion. None of us that have committed our careers to the sport of boxing want to seriously contemplate the fact that there's corruption in the sport, that there's ugly goings on under the table. But when you look at how to, but when you look at how to score a fight, and when you break it down as we've just done, what is the other answer? What is the other conclusion to come to?
Especially when
there is no other conclusion. I mean,
it's always the home fighter, and it's always the home promoter's lad that wins these controversial decisions.
my name wasn't even on a ticket. I received thousands of tickets to sell to people in Charlotte, in England. People going, "Where's your name on the ticket?" I said, "I don't know. It was the Josh Taylor show now." I just don't want to believe that there was a brown envelope, that there is corruption. But what is the answer?
What's good, family? Shout out to my doggy, Johnny Boy Wilson, for sending through that coin, that much needed coin for YB's peak financial situation right now. So we just heard there from your man, Jack Catterall. Now, he airing out the board, saying yes, he believes the MTK or other forces have been paying off the judiciary. However, on that note, what I will say is, it's very interesting, and there is some evidence now that's come up that implies it's not this whole scam that allegedly went on against to defraud Jack Catterall. Like I said, there's some evidence that's coming out to the contrary, that it was not sanctioned by MTK. For example, the evidence is the fact that, guess what? MTK's headline fighter, for you man who don't know, Josh Taylor is associated with MTK. Yeah, the reason Ben Davison gets all these fighters is because he's MTK. He number one MTK, shilled on, 100%. So, there was some murmurings, oh yeah, it's an MTK job. Yeah, El Trapahan put the call in. The same way he put the call in to tell Billy Ho Saunders to take a dive in the 8th, to tell him to stay down, Bricktop, one of them ones. Yeah, Bricktop snatch, stay down. he gonna stay down in the 8th. That's what they told him, 100%. Yeah, but listen, like I said, you heard there from Jack Catterall. He say it's rigged. He say brown envelope. He say someone was paid off, and it could be MTK. Now, what I've heard in the last 24 hours is the fact that Frank Warren and Tyson Fury is number one MTK don. Yeah, he's their star attraction. Have banned British judges, have banned the BBCOC judges from his fight against Dillian Whyte. So what does that mean? Well, that implies that, and not only have they banned them, Frank Warren and Tyson Fury also gave us some added narrative saying that they don't trust British judges to score their fight. So for all the people saying, oh, it's MTK, well, if it was MTK in control, yeah, then Tyson Fury would be saying, yeah, we want, innit? He'd be wanting them judges in there because he'd know that we've got the inside man. So that in itself shows that if there is any level of corruption, it's not coming from MTK. And I'm sure there's a whole bag of you dons. Oh, IB, you've been paid. Please pay me. Yeah, 100%. Anyone from MTK out there, please send me some coin. I need coin bad. I love coin. My name Anthony. My name Y. Anthony Johnston B. I love coin. Please send coin. Yeah, I need coin bad. Super bad. But yeah, that in itself, Fury and Frank Warren kicking up a fuss, telling them we don't want no British judges. That says it all for me. Or it implies at least it's not likely to have come from MTK. So who would it have come from? Well, the promoters. Other people have said it's come from top rank. But really, I mean, there's been a lot of hype about, Josh. I mean, I heard some people saying, it may even have been in this interview, Josh Taylor's the A side and he's the money man. It's in Scotland. Josh Taylor is not a money man. I'm sorry, he's not. And I find it hard to believe, honestly. I find it hard to believe that Josh Taylor has the clout to have been backed like that. It doesn't add up to me. It really don't. But I'm sure some of you conspiracy dons can try and work it out. Me personally, and especially when you look at the history, I've heard that the man, what's his name? Bob, is it something? I'm not sure. But either way, the man who gave it against Jack Catterall, apparently he always favours the aggressive fighter. Now it's the thing, if I was training a fighter, if I was managing a fighter, if I was advising a fighter, a lot of these trainers, they're not super intelligent like the YBers, which means that they just think, oh, we'll just rock in there and do what we're going to do anyway and hope for the best. Number one, like I said before, the first thing every trainer, every manager should tell their fighters is, don't leave it in the hands of the judges. That should go without saying. If I was training a fighter, every single camp will be based on that. Why? Number one, because it means your career is going to be better, because you're going to have exciting fights. Oops. But number two, that way there's no confusion then. Yeah? And that saying came from the UFC, who has better decision making. But even then, Dana White knows life isn't perfect. You're going to get these storms sometimes. Even in the UFC, where they control it all, it goes wrong sometimes. And there's bad refereeing, and there's bad this, there's bad that. So fighters need to bear that in mind. I think that goes undersaid. But that's not the point. The point I'm saying is, more specifically to the management and the trainers and the advisors, I think it's important to look at the officials you're going in front of. Know your referee. Know your judges. Why? Well, people are people. And as much as that hurts, unfortunately, fights aren't yet scored by computers. When they are, great. But until then, certain people have hard-ons for certain things. Yeah? The YB like big booties. If you see a big booty, do you know what I'm saying? It makes me laugh. Oh, the referee, the judges did a bad job. Well, wait a minute. The referee like big booty. Yeah? You like big booty. And you go in there with some stiff skinny back. What's that going to do? No good. The judge don't want to see no skinny flat back. He want a thick thing. And Jack Catterall, listen, the bottom line is, the judges wanted to see some thick, plump, bulbous thing. And you went in there with some flat, no twerking, have an ass back. He wasn't impressed. Oops. Yeah? So rather than, again, you ask yourself, what are these trainers being paid for? Are you being paid to hope for the best, or are you being paid to just go in there and do what you want to do or are you being paid to win? Because if you're being paid to win, I'd sit down and say, okay, we know the referee like this. And it doesn't mean it every time, but I mean, for big fights, I'd be saying, listen, we've got these certain judges this time. We know he likes this, we know he likes that. We must take this in. It's not ideal, but again, that's human nature. Human nature isn't ideal. You have to take it into account. Okay, we've got two aggressive judges today. We know they have a bias towards scoring things on the front foot. I'm telling you now, if I was a judge, you best believe, if the YB ever a judge, you best not come in there fanning around, because it's gonna be super peak for you, super duper peak. I'm telling you that for free. It'll be truly peak for you if you come in there fanning around with the YB. There's no doubt about that. I'd rather see you get your nut punched off than fanning around. Truth be known, nothing more pisses me off in a fight. Because I mean, there's plenty of other sports you can play to fanny around in. I feel that combat sports should be, you know what I'm saying? I think two things need to happen. Either we ban clinching, we ban fanning around, or we make two sports. We make a sport where you can fanny around, and we make a sport where I think taking a back step should be banned. Yeah, that's it. No back steps. Simple as that. You go forward. You go forward, or you stand still. That's it. No, that's how it should be. You go forward, or you stand still. Simple as that. No clinching. No going back. How about that? And crack on. Because people forget that you can have skills toe to toe, but it's just hard to have, and it takes training, and it takes effort. It's much easier just to say, oh, my name's Anthony Johnston, and rather than learn how to be efficient on the inside, I'm going to just, my ass crack's going to flap, and I'm going to run around for Mr. Blobby for 12 rounds. It's much easier to do that. It's much harder to say, okay, I'm going to get my shoulder up by my chin, tuck my elbows in, and slip, slide, and roll, and catch, and whatever else. Yeah? That's what it's harder to do. But that's the whole point. What's the point being in a sport to do the easy thing? The easy thing to say is, okay, I'm going in there with Mr. Blobby. Let me run around and and, you know what I mean? And cack my pants against Mr. Blobby. Who can't do that? Yeah? And that's why I rate Tyson Fury so much these days, because guess what? Fury could have easily spent the next 10 years just boxing everyone's head off for 12 rounds. I'm under no illusions of that. Fury could have made it so easy for himself. But for whatever reason, and also despite not having the natural abilities, Fury isn't naturally powerful. But still, despite all that, for whatever reason, Fury has done what he's done. And I really respect that. Because guess what? There's people who have the natural abilities, and they can't even commit. They're trying to be a runner, like Anthony Johnston. Yeah? Got all the natural abilities, but he's completely broken mentally, and is scared of his own shadow. All he can do is run away from middleweights and run away from Mr. Blobby. Yeah? No resolve, no character. Weak character have an ass. But yeah, anyway, Jack Catterall. Listen, Jack Catterall, yeah? Like I said, what you should have done is done your homework and knew, wait there a minute, and I'm not saying he should have gone in there and just completely gone forward, but in them last few rounds, after you scored a knockdown, there's no reason you couldn't have increased your output. No reason at all, apart from you thought you was too smart. Yeah? You thought you was too smart, and unfortunately that's what happens, you see. God don't miss, or fate doesn't miss. And when you think you're too smart, Jack Catterall, you can just tell. Look how he was in the corner, way too relaxed. He thought, and he even said it in his post-fight interview the other day, he said, oh yeah, I knew I'd won. Yeah, oh, I knew I'd won. I knew I was boxing his head off. Well, you didn't. Oops. That's what happens, you see. What's that saying? Before a fall comes a something. Before a fall comes a thing, and that's the problem, you see. He got too gassed. You got too comfortable. You was too comfortable, and you should never be too comfortable in an undisputed fight on away turf in front of the undisputed champion. That should never be the case. You're sitting there all cool and relaxed looking. That's on you. You owed it to everyone, the fans, yourself, to go out there and leave more out there. I reckon Jack Catterall left out there about 50%. And I reckon Josh Taylor left about 95%. And that's what this came down to. That can't be the case. In an undisputed fight, you can't be leaving 50% out there. I don't care how clean you may think it looks. It doesn't look good to the judges, seeing someone in there just taking their time and swanning around. It just don't look good. I'm sorry, it don't. And the whole night, all we saw was Josh Taylor. Yeah, it looked sloppy, but all we could see is him charging forward and hungry for it. And unfortunately, you didn't make him pay enough. That's what the problem was. Because people saying, oh, YB, but Josh Taylor was running into clean shots. Yeah, but that's the problem. That in itself is the contradiction. If someone's running forward and being hit clean, it begs the question, well, you weren't hitting him that hard, was you? Oops, because he did that. Josh Taylor didn't back off for the full 12 rounds. And that's the point. Well, really, if Josh Taylor was running into your punches for 12 rounds, why didn't you stop him? Why didn't you punch him more? Oops. Yeah, because I don't know about you, but if I can't miss someone every time I'm throwing a punch, why weren't you throwing more punches? I think this is one of the lowest scoring championship bouts in history, in as much as the punch output. It was like 10 or 20 punches a round. Super low. Oops, whose fault's that? Yeah, oh, YB, you're wrong. Jack Catterall couldn't miss him. Well, if he couldn't miss him, why didn't he take 20 punches and turn it into 40 punches or 60 punches? Because for guys who are 1-8, I remember AJ's average punch output was 40, and he's a heavyweight, and he's got no gas tank. Jack Catterall had one of the best cardios I've ever seen. So again, what's the point having cardio? What's the point having accuracy? And you're going to go in there and have one of the lowest outputs in the history of the game. Oops. Yeah, that's on you, boss man. Too relaxed. You thought you was too nice, and you before a fall comes a thing. Whatever that is, yeah, one of them ones. Before a big thing comes a thing. Before a big fall comes a big thing, and you was too gassed, thinking you was too nice, and then you got. But guess what? I hope for your sake that next time you've realised the gravity of the situation you're in, and realise, you know what, I best get busy. I best commit to this. I best treat this. I best invest myself properly. And I actually rate what Jack Catterall was doing in as much as once he's champion, and if he's able to replicate them performances, he's going to be like Floyd Mayweather, if you get what I'm saying. Not skill for skill, but I'm saying in terms of how he'll be able to control the pace of a fight and just pick people off. But that's not a challenger attitude. If you look at Floyd's early days, when Floyd would get the belts, He'd get the belts by lighting dudes up. You didn't that late Floyd, the old Floyd, the 35 to 40-year-old Floyd. That wasn't how he started. When Floyd was taking the belts, he was lighting dudes up. Yeah, and that's why watch Floyd versus De La Hoya. De La Hoya came forward the whole night, and arguably Floyd lost that fight. Floyd Mayweather Senior even said Floyd lost the fight. And that in itself shows you, that slick stuff, when you're the challenger, when you're the B-side, that slick stuff, it's not a good look. That in itself is a perfect example. When you're coming up against the A-side, you can't afford, even Floyd Mayweather barely got the win, got a split decision. And that should show you all what happens when you do that strategy. And De La Hoya was not hitting much all night. And but what De La Hoya did have was the A-side, and he was running forward. Does it make it right? No, but horses for courses. It's the way it goes. So life's about learning, and the thing is, I'm not saying, did Josh Taylor win 10 rounds? No. But I felt like it could have gone either way, bottom line. I feel like the fight could have been a draw, for example. Really, for me, the fight could have been a draw. And either side, when a fight could be a draw, it means I can see a round to Josh, I can see a round to Jack. I didn't see it as a blowout myself. I just didn't see it as a blowout. So it's one of them ones. However, what I will say is, who had the potential based on that performance? Who threw the fight away? Jack Catterall did. Whose fight was that to lose based on the performance? Jack Catterall. Do you understand? Jack Catterall showed all of the stuff to improve his performance. Josh Taylor was all the way in. He had nothing more to give. I couldn't sit there and say what Josh Taylor could have done better. I couldn't. He was all in. He was all in, and he got about a draw for that. Jack Catterall was the one who had all the potential but refused to use it, refused to risk it. And unfortunately, not taking risks as a challenger, not doubling down on yourself as a challenger, you end up where you are now. And I feel people are going too extra. Yeah, it's one bad fight, one bad decision, but if Jack Catterall is that good, it's no problem. He can do what Josh did, collect all the belts himself. And then he'll be the guy be able to sit back and pick people apart on home turf. And people also forget that, look at Jack Catterall's career. He's been gifted many close decisions himself. He got a split decision over O'Hara Davis in a very low volume, boring fight. No one complained there. Well, people did complain, but because it was O'Hara, it's alright to, you know what I mean? Because O'Hara lost, everyone was, don't worry, YB, it's only O'Hara Davis. Yeah, it's okay for him to get robbed, for example. I'm not saying he did, but do you understand? There's always going to be controversies. Jack Catterall ended up on the right side of them. That's how it goes. You know what I mean? Unfortunately, it happened to you in your big fight, but you've been given the nod over other people in your own career. That's how it goes sometimes, especially when you were too comfortable. You got too comfortable. You thought you was too nice. You was boxing like you was the champion, like you was the big name, and that's a lesson you need to learn. It's not a bad lesson to learn either. When you're going in there and you're against the odds, you should always go out your way to make it clear. Did Jack Catterall make it clear? I don't feel so. Yeah, because if he had, Josh Taylor would have been out on his back. Yeah, if a man's running forward and you're hitting him clean all night, why is he still doing that for? Why isn't he knocked spark out? Oops. That shows either you're not hitting that hard or you're not hitting enough. Whatever way you want to look at it. Yeah, if Josh Taylor's running in all night with his chin in the air, as he was, and he get knocked out after 12 rounds, you ain't hitting hard enough and or you ain't hitting often enough. And that's on you. Because no one didn't ask you not to hit him often enough. No doubt.